And here we are, making it to the finals of the LET Season 9 playoffs. We are up against Death Valley Chandelures. We fought them very early on in the season, and this was after they were under new management. Or Death Valley came in to replace one of the coaches that had to leave, unfortunately. So, his first battle was against me. We actually won that one, although I think we ended up having to go to timer because we couldn't get our land play stuff to work at that point correctly. So, for this battle, we were able to do our friendly competition. That was a pain in the butt, though, because we just couldn't get it connected for the first couple of times, unfortunately. In fact, we missed an entire day of it because we couldn't get connected. We were able to get connected on the second day, but that was towards the very end of the period we set up for. So yeah, lots of fun with that. But anyways, we finally got the battle going. We have the timer that we want. We will not be able to time out. Well, we can time out on this, but we make sure that we don't. Anyways, my opponent has brought Passimian, Slowbro Galler, Stunfisk, Cincino, Clauncher, and of course their mascot Chandelure. So Passimian and Stunfisk are two of the swap outs he did for this team from our first fight, which, given what I traded out of my team when I had trades, makes sense. I got both Cryogonal and Pangoro, both of which weak to Passimian. And then Stunfisk, I'm surprised I didn't bring it to the first match, considering my main offensive threat is a Xurkitree. So, with that being said, he definitely made his team even harder for me to fight. He has less setup Pokemon on here that I'm afraid of, which is better than last time. I'm also significantly less prone to those setup Pokemon, however, because I am packing Haze on Cryogonal, who will outspeed anything that doesn't increase its own speed, which is none of his setup Pokemon, so I don't have to worry about that. Anyways, let's go ahead and get this battle going and see who wins the League of Extraordinary Trainers Ultra Ball Conference for Season 9. So looking at his team, I would wager a guess that his starting Pokemon is either Clauncher, which is what he led with last time and is the main reason why I'm thinking he might do it again. Or maybe something like Passimian, who gets U-turn. He's been very careful about the Cincino, so even though it can learn U-turn, he doesn't bring that thing in unless he thinks he'll be able to KO something with it very easily. So I'm not expecting the Cincino to be his first Pokemon in. As for what I will decide to lead with right off the bat, I can't do Xurkitree like I did last time, because last time he wasn't packing a ground type, so I could just Volt Switch out of it. Now it looks like we're starting off with Cryogonal first. Alright. Start of the match. Let's see what my opponent decided to pack. Alright, we are starting off with Passimian, who has that U-turn he can use. And we've got Cryogonal, which, unfortunately, Passimian just forces out in general. Thankfully, this is why we have Effect Spore on Vileplume. So that U-turners who would be doing that, I swap in Vileplume, give them a chance to get paralyzed for doing all their U-turns, or sleep, or poison. Preferably either paralysis or sleep. Effect Spore goes off, we put the Passimian to sleep. Wonderful use of the Effect Spore. And because of how the Sleep Clause works, we're actually able to put another one of his Pokemon to sleep, even though Passimian is asleep. Because that sleep was entirely random. So it falls within, like, say if my opponent used Rest on a Pokemon, I can put another one of their Pokemon to sleep if they swap that one out. But that's it. Only one intentional sleep is what I can do. So that means if I wanted to, I could try and put that Chandelure to sleep. However, I'm pretty sure most of us know by now that Vileplume does not want to take on a Chandelure. And Flareon is our go-to wall for Chandelure. It absolutely tanks its fire-type attacks and will tank a good portion of its special attacks as well. So the main question becomes, is he going to bother switching or not? Here's the thing, though. I did not pack fire moves on this on the off chance that this Chandelure is actually running Flash Fire instead of Infiltrator. So, here's our wish. He used Toxic on us, which, not great for Flareon at all. He took a risk, though, on that. Actually, no, he didn't, because we already saw that it's Flash Fire. So, he knows it's not Guts boosted. He probably wouldn't have done Toxic if he had seen it, if he hadn't seen that Flash Fire. And he's running Hex, too, which absolutely destroys Flareon as a tank for this thing. So one thing that I'll mention right now, that bite was actually a low damage roll, as I figured out later in the match. Which is so unfortunate, because I would have been far more aggressive with the Flareon on this thing than I had been. Because at this point, now we're going to swap to Cryogonal. I mean, he's not going to use Flamethrower while Flareon's out on the field, period. So we swap to Cryogonal. He'll try and Hex me again. Which, I mean, he'll be able to do, but thanks to Cryogonal's special defense stat. Oh, no, he actually predicted that switch. But we tanked the Flamethrower quite well, actually. Even though this match was, what, 2 days ago? 3 days ago. I am still forgetting things. Well, we got our light screen up, but we traded Cryogonal for this, and that is not something I wanted to do. Because Cryogonal was probably my main best answer to Clauncher. It was faster than it. It would KO it with Freeze Dry. But now, since he seems to be running Overheat, or not Overheat, Flamethrower instead of Overheat probably, Pangoro is actually a pretty safe switch in, because the only thing that KOs this Pangoro right off the bat is that Overheat. So he's probably not going to stay in with the Chandelure. And I brought this one specifically to set up on the rest of his team. And Chandelure does not like this thing, so it's not very likely to come in except to try and clean it. Which, while I can't necessarily stop that, I force the Chandelure back on the field. So there's that. Passimian's back. So on the off chance that that Chandelure stayed in, I hit Darkest Lariat just to make sure it fainted. And we even got a crit on that Passimian, and we can see how much that was worth. So the idea of this Pangoro is set up with Substitute and Bulk Up, and then start Drain Punching or Darkest Lariat everything. All I need is a +1 Bulk Up, and Darkest Lariat will KO that Slowbro. So I definitely did not want to risk another turn of sleep on that Passimian. Just because if Passimian woke up, close combat, Pangoro is gone, and I lose probably my best chance at KOing that Slowbro. So now we got Claydol, who will resist his fighting move, so he's going to U-turn into it. Or he'll stay asleep, and we get Stealth Rocks up. Alright, so we know Passimian wakes up this turn. There is nothing that we're going to do about that, but we can teleport out of it. His U-turn will go off first. We swap to whatever Pokemon he's going to swap to and counter it, hopefully. And now Passimian's at the point where it's basically useless. It's got so low health. I think it still technically lives Stealth Rock because it resists Rock. But anything that attacks it is going to KO it. So the real question is what is my opponent going to switch to? Clawitzer. Alright. We teleport out of this. Simple enough. So, one of the things about the Pangoro, I really made it so that it could counter the Eldegoss. Make it setup fodder. He didn't bring Eldegoss, so that makes it a little bit harder. I will later find a Pokemon that he could have set up on, but I didn't realize this until the end of the match, so that didn't happen as well. Alright, he swapped out the Clawitzer, expecting an electric move. We predicted this. Energy Ball. And do a good sizable chunk to that Stunfisk. Sizable, but he's got leftovers. We had Stealth Rocks helping us. And looking at that damage again, I could have had Xurkitree probably use Energy Ball again. Would have saved me a lot of effort right there, probably. But if I remember correctly, he actually swapped out the Stunfisk here. I mean, if my opponent was better able to keep track of the damage than I could, which he can, he has the numbers for it. So he probably did swap out the Stunfisk. So going towards Vileplume, Stunfisk's out. And now we got Slowbro incoming. This is actually okay. While Vileplume can't actually do much to this thing, we can try putting it to sleep. We can get rid of its item. And our opponent has no Pokemon to absorb status moves right now. So Sleep Powder is actually a wonderful thing. We will put one of his Pokemon to sleep if we can hit Sleep Powder. Preferably the Slowbro. But he swaps out the Slowbro. Switches to Passimian, who is useless. So Passimian lives on 1 HP. Absorbs the sleep. And now we can't do much more about that, unfortunately. What we can do is... I don't know why I didn't... Let's see here. I think the main reason why I'm thinking about switching is because as soon as Vileplume KOs this thing, all it does is invite Chandelure in. And then I have to put another Pokemon in to tank the Flamethrower or take a Toxic to the face. Meanwhile, I can hit Energy Ball here. Because if I want to stay locked into something, I would rather it be Energy Ball right now. Because anytime he could swap in that Stunfisk. So if he tries to save the Passimian, which he did. And I think he actually predicted that I would do Energy Ball instead. Which, unfortunately, Slowbro does resist, so this does nothing for me. And thanks to Regenerator, Slowbro swaps out, heals all of that damage back. Alright, so this Slowbro is probably going to take this opportunity to try and set up. So we can do that ourselves with Pangoro. It doesn't matter if he sets up the Iron Defense. But I misjudged what my opponent would do. He actually swapped to using Scald. Which means he's actually probably using an offensive Slowbro. We're going to sub here because he can't burn me past the sub. Yeah, that Scald hurts, but he's not going to keep that thing in against Dark type. Passimian comes in, stealth rocks, which is fine, because we hit sub, so we don't lose anything off of this. So now we're hiding behind a substitute. The only thing that can actually hit us is the Chandelure, which I don't know if my opponent was actually thinking about at the time, because I'm definitely within flamethrower range. But he brings in the Clawitzer instead. This part kills me so much. I'm debating about whether just attacking the dang thing or trying to set up on it, because I know that this thing is very capable of getting rid of the substitute. I don't know what its speed is. This is full speed Pangoro, so I knew that if this thing wasn't full speed Clawitzer, I was still going to outspeed it, which we did. Alright, so here comes Aura Sphere. I knew it was going to pack Aura Sphere because it's one of its best coverage moves. It also gains a damage boost from its ability Mega Launcher. And here comes a major mistake on my part. I was looking up damage for this in this little bit of time. That's why I'm not doing anything right here. I thought I KO'd it from here with Darkest Lariat and +1. I, however, forgot to swap off the Choice Band from the Pangoro set that I quickly looked up. I needed a Choice Band and a +1 to KO it from here. I did not have that, and now I have to eat an Aura Sphere. And I've lost my single best bet at beating that Slowbro. That is my first main mistake right there. And now we've got Circuitry coming in, probably, because Circuitry will force this thing out, making it take extra damage. Or are we gonna... Nope, we do Vileplume. Alright, so Vileplume's in. Vileplume will force Clawitzer out. Even with an Ice Beam, it's probably not KOing Vileplume. At least I think that's what happens here. Yep. There's the Ice Beam. Vileplume has more than enough HP to tank that. Sludge Bomb to finish it off. The reason I did Sludge Bomb over Giga Drain is because Sludge Bomb would deal more damage to the Chandelure, which I would expect to swap in on this, than Giga Drain would, and I'd have a chance to poison it, giving me extra damage against that Chandelure. But they decided to sacrifice the Clawitzer instead. Chandelure comes out. And we're staying in, thinking that they're going to try and use Hex on me, I'm guessing is what's going to happen here. Because they're expecting me to swap to the Flareon. So I'm going to try and put it to sleep on that assumption. Unfortunately, they decided that they would rather just risk the Flamethrower and give Flareon a damage boost that doesn't matter. The damage boost doesn't matter, but I don't think my opponent knows that yet, because I still haven't shown Curse on it yet. So we really don't want to put Circuitry in, because that'll just lock us into a move. And he's still got the Stunfisk. There we go. But looks like we're going to do it anyways. So the reason I have Discharge on here, as bad as it sounds, is for me fishing for Paralysis. I was thinking he would switch to the Stunfisk here, not to risk losing that Chandelure to this thing. I should have hit Energy Ball. I didn't. Ugh. And I kick myself for that. Almost as much as I do for losing the Pangoro. And he's, I'm sure, figured out by this point that it's choice of some sort. Alright, so we got Claydol in. Claydol can get rid of those rocks easily enough. I don't have a reason to get rid of them, though. I mean, yeah, Flareon's going to take major damage from it, but I would rather get damage off on the Stunfisk. Or on whatever comes in after it. Not to mention that Scorching Sands has the chance to burn something. I'm a ground type, so his likelihood is he's not going to swap in the Chandelure. He's most likely going to swap in Cincino if he still has it, since he still has it hanging around, and it's still at full health. Claydol doesn't have that much attack stat, but not enough to gamble with Stunfisk right now. So he does bring in the Cincino. I use Scorching Sands. I have not even once gotten Scorching Sands to burn yet. And this kills me so much. Because that's all I want. All I want is Scorching Sands to burn. If I could get Scorching Sands to burn, the Cincino is entirely neutered. It wouldn't be able to do much of anything. Not to mention my main wall for this thing is, was Vileplume, but Vileplume's gone because we misread a situation and sacrificed it to Chandelure. So we're Scorching Sands again. Because, you know, KO or burn, maybe? No. Because why would I? And we're just going to Scorching Sands again. And now U-turns out. He's going to KO this Claydol. But Claydol has... did have Rocky Helmet. But the Cincino has Protective Pads. Which blocks contact type damage or effects. So... my idea to tank with Vileplume, getting it to trigger effects more because it hits 5 times, wasn't going to work anyways. And now we are back with Stunfisk. And we are down to 2 Pokemon. Xurkitree, who is a choice-locked Pokemon, and Flareon, who can really only fight Chandelure. And I have to be able to swap Xurkitree out while this Stunfisk is still on the field. Which I can't. Alright, so he swapped that thing out to Chandelure. I am not entirely certain why he would do that. But we get our bite off, and we deal significantly more damage than we did the first time we did bite. That is how I know that is a low roll. That is why I was saying I would have been far more aggressive with Flareon on this Chandelure than I was. And it kills me so much. But, I mean, that bite, obviously, not game-changing, unfortunately. As I said, I'm still stuck with Xurkitree on a choice when I still have to deal with a ground type. Not a good situation that I'm in. Cincino is still here. Gets KO'd by Stealth Rocks. So now we've got Stunfisk and we have Slowbro left. The minute that we get Slowbro by itself, it won't be able to heal with Regenerator. Though it might still have Slack Off, which would be extremely bad for me. However, until that Stunfisk is gone, I can't lock myself into an electric move. That is an auto lose right there. So we use Yawn in order to try and put the Stunfisk to sleep. We take the Earthquake. If I had been able to figure out that this Stunfisk was physical, I could have used it as setup bait for Pangoro. But this was the first time that Stunfisk had dealt any damage to me, so I had no idea. Hindsight 2020. But now we are stuck with a Xurkitree, who is going to be neutral on one opponent at best, and hits an immunity at worst on another one. Unfortunately, just to make sure that I don't faint, make sure that I don't lock myself into something, and I can somehow pull this off even against a Slowbro. Energy Ball. This is the part that kills me. If I had called that Stunfisk the second time, like I should have, I may have been able to win this. We got a Beast Boost, +1 special attack stat, with a non-stab move that's not very effective against our very bulky Pokemon who is at full health. As much as it pains me to say this, there's no way I can pull this off. Even with a crit, I would at best get this thing down to half its health. And there goes that. So yeah, it looked like that thing was actually not the setup it was last time. Alright. Congratulations to my opponent, the Death Valley Chandelures. They have won the LET Ultra Ball Conference for Season 9. So congratulations to them. It was a well-played game. I made mistakes. My opponent was able to capitalize on all of those mistakes. But in the end, I had fun with this. I had fun this entire season with this. So, and I got up to finals. I may have blew it at the end, but this is still very much an accomplishment. LET has some really great trainers in it. That means I had to beat all of them. And one funny fact for the end of this. Both me and the Death Valley Chandelures, we were the lowest seeded people for the playoffs. So not only did we defeat the favorites by all accounts to win this, we ended up in the finals. So either way, it was just kind of hilarious that out of the 6 people who made it to playoffs, the 2 that were ranked the worst were the ones that actually ended up fighting for first place. But either way, looking forward to doing Season 10 with them. Sounds like it's going to be one last hurrah for the for Gen 8. We are on Gen 8, aren't we? I don't remember any of this stuff anymore. It's been so long. Yep, Gen 8. Okay. I have too many numbers for different things going on. I can barely keep track of what season it is on LET. I can barely keep track of what generation of Pokemon we're on. Anyways, last hurrah for Gen 8 for the LET. It's also going to be the last. There's also going to be a last hurrah for the Bidding War League. Coming in October is when I plan on starting that. So, either way, we will be back with more Gen 8 videos. Later on, I still have to get to all of my Bidding War League videos, which are kind of on the back burner because that was not a great season at all for me. I will get those done. Not sure how many I will get done this weekend, but we will see. Anyways, thanks for staying with me throughout this entire league, and I look forward to battling all of you later on in the League of Extraordinary Trainers or seeing all you guys on my channels. Alright, have fun, and I will see you all next time.